3 months had passed since Jake Morrison brought the alien crystal back to Earth. The world had changed in ways that most people could never imagine. In hidden facilities across the planet, the brightest minds worked day and night to understand the technology that could save or doom humanity. Admiral Patricia Wells stood in the command center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room buzzed with activity as hundreds of people worked at computer stations and holographic displays. On the main screen, a map of the galaxy showed tiny red dots spreading outward from Earth like drops of blood in water. "How many ships have we launched this week?" Patricia asked her aide. 47, ma'am," replied Colonel Linda Shaw. "All using the new stealth drives. The Council sensors can't detect them when they're running silent." Patricia nodded with satisfaction. Dr. Kevin Park had done the impossible. Using the alien crystal as a guide, he had figured out how to build faster-than-light engines that were invisible to Council detection systems. It had taken 3 months of non-stop work, but now humanity had the tools they needed to spread across the galaxy in secret. The first breakthrough had come when Kevin discovered that Council technology worked differently than human technology. Their sensors looked for specific energy patterns and communication signals that matched their own evolution. Human ships using different principles could slip past their defenses like ghosts. "Where is Dr. Park now?" Patricia asked. "Laboratory 7, Linda replied. "He's working on the new communication arrays. Says he can give us real-time contact with all our hidden colonies." Patricia walked through the underground tunnels to Laboratory 7. The walls were lined with pipes and cables that carried power and data to every part of the facility. She passed rooms full of engineers and scientists working on projects that would have seemed like magic just a few months ago. Kevin looked up from his workbench when she entered. His hair was messy and his clothes were wrinkled from sleeping. At the lab, behind him, a device that looked like a smaller version of the alien crystal hummed with blue energy. "Admiral Wells," Kevin said with tired excitement, "I think we've cracked their quantum communication system. We can now listen to their conversations across the entire galaxy without them knowing." "And our own communications?" Patricia asked. "Completely secure," Kevin replied. "We're using frequency patterns that don't exist in their technology. To them, our signals look like random cosmic noise." Patricia smiled. This was exactly what they needed. "How soon can we have these systems installed on all our ships?" "The first batch is ready now. Sarah Rodriguez has been fitting them to the colony ships as fast as we can build them." Sarah Rodriguez worked in the shipyards that had been built in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The location was perfect because Council sensors rarely looked at areas they considered empty space. Hidden among the rocks, humanity was building the largest fleet in their history. Sarah floated in zero gravity as she supervised the installation of the new stealth systems on a colony ship called the Freedom. The ship was designed to carry 5,000 people and all the equipment needed to build a new world. More importantly, it was invisible to alien sensors. "How does it look, Chief?" asked her assistant, Tony Blake. "Perfect," Sarah replied. "The Council will never see this coming. Their sensors are designed to find ships that use their type of technology. Our ships are built completely differently." The Freedom was one of hundreds of colony ships being prepared for launch. Each one carried volunteers who knew they might never see Earth again, but they also knew they were humanity's best hope for survival. If the Council decided to destroy Earth, these hidden colonies would ensure that humans lived on. Marcus Chun worked in a different part of the facility, studying Council military tactics. The alien crystal had contained detailed information about their weapons and strategies. What he discovered gave him hope. "They haven't fought a real war in thousands of years," Marcus explained to a group of military officers. "Their tactics are based on fighting slow-moving opponents who think in predictable patterns. They have no experience dealing with rapid adaptation and improvisation." Colonel Shaw leaned forward with interest. "What about their weapons technology?" "Powerful but inflexible," Marcus replied. "Their ships are built to last for centuries without major changes. That makes them tough, but it also makes them predictable. Human ships can be modified and upgraded much faster. Meanwhile, Elena Foster monitored Council communications from a listening post hidden in the outer solar system. Her job was to track the movements and conversations of the 12 elder species that ruled the galaxy. What she learned painted a picture of an ancient civilization that had grown complacent. "They're not taking any special security measures," Elena reported during her daily briefing. "They still think we're trapped on Earth and a few nearby colonies. They have no idea we're spreading across their territory." The key to human success was choosing the right targets for colonization. Amanda Rivers led the team that analyzed Council survey data to find worlds the aliens had written off as worthless. These were planets that were too hot, too cold, too dry, or too hostile for the comfort-loving Council species. "Humans can live almost anywhere," Amanda explained as she marked another world for colonization. "What the Council sees as uninhabitable wasteland, we see as a challenge to overcome." The colony ship New Horizon landed on a world the Council had labeled as thermal death zone due to its extreme temperatures. Within weeks, human engineers had built underground cities and geothermal power plants. The hostile environment that kept aliens away became humanity's protection. Captain Janet Price commanded one of the first military reconnaissance missions into Council space. Her ship, the Silent Runner, was equipped with the most advanced stealth technology humans had ever built. Her mission was to identify potential targets for future operations. "Council patrol patterns are completely predictable," Janet reported. "From deep in alien territory, they follow the same routes they've used for centuries. They're not looking for threats because they don't believe any threats exist." Janet's discoveries were crucial for planning the next phase of human expansion. Greg Stevens, a young tactical officer, analyzed her reports and created detailed maps of Council military positions. What he found was encouraging. "Their forces spread thin across thousands of star systems," Greg explained. "They rely on their reputation and superior technology to maintain control. They're not prepared for simultaneous attacks across multiple fronts." Back on Earth, President Carter met with the secret council that coordinated humanity's survival efforts. The group included military leaders, scientists, and representatives from every major nation. Their decisions would determine whether humanity lived or died. "We have established over 500 hidden colonies," Carter announced. "Our stealth fleet now numbers in the thousands. Most importantly, we have complete access to Council communications and navigation data." Admiral Morrison, who had been promoted after his discovery of the alien network, stood to present the military situation. "Council forces are powerful but predictable. Their ships are built for fighting conventional wars against opponents who follow established patterns. Human tactics will be completely foreign to them." The most important development was taking place in laboratories around the world where scientists worked to combine human innovation with stolen Council technology. Dr. Carol Thompson led a team that was developing new types of weapons and defenses that no Council species had ever encountered. "We're not trying to match their technology," Carol explained. "We're trying to create something completely different, something they won't know how to counter." Susan Moore commanded the construction of hidden military bases in systems the Council considered worthless. These bases were disguised as mining operations or research stations. In reality, they were fortified positions that could support major fleet operations. "When the time comes, we'll have staging areas throughout their territory," Susan reported. "They won't know we're there until it's too late to stop us." The race was on. Every day brought humanity closer to the Council vote that would determine their fate. But every day also brought new colonies, new ships, and new capabilities that the Council knew nothing about. The aliens who thought they had contained humanity were about to discover that their prey had become the hunter. Jake Morrison stood in the command center and watched the galaxy map fill with more red dots representing human presence. In just 3 months, humanity had gone from a single world to a scattered empire of hidden settlements. The Council still thought they were dealing with a primitive species confined to one solar system. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. The ancient council chamber on Nexus Prime had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations over 50,000 years. The massive dome-shaped room was built from crystal that seemed to glow with its own inner light. 12 platforms floated in a perfect circle, each one designed for a different alien species. Today, these beings would decide the fate of humanity. Elena Foster watched the proceedings from her hidden listening post in the Veil Nebula, thousands of light-years away. The stolen council communication technology allowed her team to see and hear everything that happened in the chamber. What they witnessed would determine whether humanity lived or died. The first to speak was Ambassador Zethkala of the Ethereals. His species had given up physical form millions of years ago and now existed as beings of pure energy. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind through crystal caves. "The human problem has reached a critical stage," Zethkala announced. "Our containment protocols have failed. 3 of their colony ships have broken through our barriers in the past month alone." Elena's blood ran cold. The council knew about some of their expansion efforts. She quickly signaled her team to send an emergency message to Earth. They needed to warn the leadership that their secret was partially exposed. Communications. Officer Tony Blake worked frantically to decode the alien responses. "The crystalline architects are calling for immediate action," he reported. "They say human expansion threatens the natural order of the galaxy." The architects were living rock formations that built massive structures across entire star systems. Their representative, a being called Stone Singer Vextal, projected images of human colonies that the council had recently discovered. "Look at what they do to worlds we deemed uninhabitable," Vextal said in a voice like grinding mountains. "They adapt. They change. They make homes where only death should exist. This is not natural evolution. This is chaos." Dr. Amanda Rivers monitored the debate from her research station hidden in an asteroid field. She had spent months studying council psychology, and their reactions were exactly what she had predicted. The ancient species feared change more than anything else. They had ruled the galaxy for so long that any disruption to their order seemed like a threat to existence itself. The aquatic depth sent ripples of sound through the water-filled section of their platform. Their delegate, current writer Bloomus, spoke in harmonics that the translation system converted to words. "Humans pollute the cosmic flow," Bloomus declared. "Where other species follow predictable patterns, humans create turbulence. They must be stopped before this chaos spreads." Admiral Morrison watched the proceedings from the bridge of his flagship, hidden in dark space between galaxies. The ship was completely invisible to council sensors, allowing him to monitor their most secret discussions. What he heard confirmed his worst fears and his greatest hopes. "They're afraid of us," Morrison said to his tactical officer Greg Stevens. "After 50,000 years of absolute control, they've finally met a species they can't predict or contain." The debate continued for hours. The machine intelligence known as the Collective presented statistical analysis that made Elena's hands shake. Their delegate was a geometric shape that spoke in precise mathematical terms. Probability calculations indicate 97.3% chance of total galactic destabilization if human expansion continues. The Collective announced, "Current containment efforts have proven 23.7% effective. Recommended solution: complete species elimination." Captain Janet Price listened from her reconnaissance position near the Council's main military base. Her ship's sensors were recording everything about their fleet preparations. If the Council voted for war, humanity needed to know what they would be facing. "Their fleet is massive," Janet reported to Admiral Morrison. "Over 12,000 ships from all member species. But most of them haven't seen combat in centuries. They're built for patrol duty and intimidation, not actual warfare." The debate grew more heated as the day progressed. The energy beings called. The radiance spoke through bursts of colored light that danced in the air above their platform. Their message was translated by the chamber systems. "Humans are a disease," the radiance declared. "They spread from world to world, changing everything they touch. No species in galactic history has shown such dangerous adaptability. But it was the testimony of the Forge Masters that made the situation clear. These cybernetic beings had once been biological creatures but had replaced most of their bodies with machines over millions of years. Their representative, Ironmine Kexvar, had been studying human technology. Human engineering principles are fundamentally different from all known patterns, Kexvar explained. They build tools to solve problems rather than building tools to last forever. This allows them to adapt to new situations faster than any species in our records. Elena realized that the Council's fear wasn't just about human expansion. They were terrified of human innovation. For 50,000 years, galactic technology had remained essentially unchanged. The Council species had reached a stable state and wanted to stay there forever. Humans represented the possibility of constant change and growth, the most chilling moment came when the plant collective spoke through their delegate root singer Velenas. This species existed as living forests that could communicate across entire continents. Their perspective was longer than any other council member. We have observed the human pattern for 10,000 of their years, Velenas said in a voice like rustling leaves. They do not seek balance, they seek growth. Infinite growth. Such a pattern cannot coexist with galactic stability. Dr. Marcus Chun analyzed the debate from his position aboard a hidden research vessel. He had been studying Council military doctrine for months, and their words revealed important weaknesses. They're used to fighting species that think like they do, Marcus reported. Slow, methodical, predictable opponents who follow established battle patterns. Human tactics will be completely foreign to them. As the debate entered its final phase, each council member stated their position. The vote would be binding and unanimous. Every species had to agree or the proposal would fail. One by one, they declared their intentions. The ethereals voted for complete human elimination. The architects demanded immediate action. The depths called for purification of the galactic flow. The collective provided statistical justification for extinction. The Radiance spoke of cleansing the disease. The Forge Masters calculated the necessity of total destruction. Colonel Linda Shaw coordinated the emergency response from her command post on Earth. As each council member voted for human extinction, she activated hidden communication networks to warn scattered human colonies across the galaxy. All units, this is command, Linda broadcast on the quantum channels that the council couldn't detect. The vote is going against us. Prepare for immediate defensive operations. This is not a drill. The final vote came from the eldest member of the council. The ancients were being so old that no one remembered what they had originally looked like. Their delegate existed as a shimmering distortion in space that spoke in a voice like dying stars. For 50,000 years we have maintained order, the ancient said. We have prevented chaos. We have ensured stability. The humans threaten all of this. They must be eliminated completely and immediately. The vote was unanimous. 12 species, with the power to destroy star systems, had agreed that humanity must die. The Council immediately began mobilizing the largest military force in galactic history. They called it the Purge Fleet. Elena watched with growing horror as the Council's plans unfolded. They intended to sterilize every human world, including Earth. No prisoners would be taken. No survivors would be allowed. The human species would be wiped from existence as if it had never been. Time frame? Admiral Morrison asked when he received the intelligence report. 6 months to full mobilization, Elena replied. They're gathering ships from across the galaxy. When they move, it will be with overwhelming force. But as Morrison studied the Council's battle plans, he allowed himself a cold smile. The aliens had made their decision based on incomplete information. They still believed humanity was limited to a few dozen worlds around Earth. They had no idea that human colonies and military bases now existed throughout their territory. Let them gather their fleet, Morrison said quietly. When they arrive at Earth, they're going to discover that the prey they thought they were hunting has become the hunter. Captain Susan Moore received orders to begin the final phase of human preparation. Across the galaxy, hidden bases activated their weapon systems. Sleeper colonies revealed their true military capabilities. Supply caches that had been disguised as mining operations opened to reveal vast armories. The Council had voted for war. What they didn't realize was that the war had already begun and humanity had been preparing for months. The species they intended to eliminate was about to show them what happened when cornered humans decided to fight back. The galaxy would never be the same. The Purge fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system in perfect formation. 12,000 ships representing the combined might of galactic civilization spread across space like a deadly constellation. Fleet Admiral LateHFY of the Ethereals commanded from his flagship at the center of the formation. He expected to find a primitive species cowering on their homeworld. Instead, he found something that made his energy form flicker with confusion. Earth's orbit was empty except for a few automated stations broadcasting a simple message in perfect galactic standard. "Welcome to Sol," the message said. "You are expected." Captain Susan Moore watched the alien fleet from her hiding place inside the asteroid belt. Her ship, the New Frontier, was completely invisible to Council sensors, buried deep within a hollowed-out asteroid that had been converted into a military base. Around her, hundreds of other human ships waited in similar hiding spots throughout the solar system. "All ships report ready," Commander Daniel Cruz announced from his position on Luna. The moon's surface looked normal from space, but underneath lay the most advanced fortress humanity had ever built. Weapons that the Council had never seen before were aimed at the approaching fleet. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship Defiance. Hidden behind Jupiter's Great Red Spot, the massive storm provided perfect cover for the human fleet's main battle group. He watched the Council formation through sensors that were invisible to their detection systems. "They're moving exactly as predicted," Morrison said to his tactical officer Greg Stevens, spreading out to begin orbital bombardment. "They think they're fighting a planetary defense force." The Council fleet divided into smaller groups as they approached the inner solar system. Their plan was simple and brutal. Surround Earth and blast every trace of human civilization into dust. They had done this before to other species that had threatened galactic order, but as the alien ships moved deeper into the solar system, they triggered the trap that humanity had spent months preparing. Hidden sensor networks detected their movements and began feeding targeting data to concealed weapon platforms. Chief Engineer Carol Thompson monitored the battle preparations from her position aboard the carrier Independence. The ship was disguised as a large asteroid, but its launch bays were filled with fighters that used completely new technology. "Their shields are calibrated for Council standard weapons," Carol reported. "Our frequency-rotating plasma cannons should cut through them like paper." The first sign that something was wrong came when the Council's advanced scouts simply disappeared. One moment they were sending routine status reports, and the next moment there was silence. Admiral LateHFY ordered additional reconnaissance. But those ships vanished as well. Captain Janet Price commanded the stealth destroyer Ghost that was responsible for eliminating Council scouts. Her ship used a combination of human innovation and stolen alien technology to remain completely undetectable. When Council ships came within range, they died before they knew they were under attack. "Target eliminated," Janet reported after destroying another enemy scout. "They still don't know we're here." The main Council fleet continued its approach toward Earth, unaware that they were sailing into the most sophisticated trap in human history. Every asteroid, every piece of space debris, every seemingly empty region of space contained hidden weapons or observation posts. Admiral LateHFY finally realized something was wrong when his long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures throughout the solar system. Signatures that hadn't been there when the fleet first arrived. "Impossible," LateHFY said to his tactical staff. "Human technology cannot generate those power levels." His chief science officer, a crystalline being named Veximer, studied the sensor readings with growing alarm. "Admiral, these energy patterns are not consistent with any known human capabilities. Either our intelligence is completely wrong, or We are facing technology we have never encountered before. That was when Admiral Morrison decided to reveal himself. The human fleet emerged from hiding positions throughout the solar system like predators emerging from tall grass. Ships rose from behind moons, separated from asteroid clusters, and materialized from what had seemed to be empty space. Council. Fleet. This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Human Defense Coalition. Morrison broadcast on all Council communication frequencies. You have entered our territory with hostile intent. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. The response from Admiral LateHFY was predictable. Impossible. You are a contained species. You cannot have forces of this magnitude. Morrison's reply echoed across both fleets. Check your long-range sensors, Admiral. Check all of them. At that moment, human forces revealed themselves at over 3,000 locations across the galaxy. The Council's own sensor networks showed the impossible truth. Humanity had spread throughout their territory undetected. Every major Council base, every important shipyard, every strategic system had human forces within striking distance. Colonel Julie Evans led the assault on the Council's primary military shipyard at Sigma Draconis. Her fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation and immediately engaged the stunned alien defenders. Target their construction facilities first, Julie ordered her squadron leaders. We need to ensure they can't replace what we're about to destroy. The Battle of Seoul began when Admiral LateHFY refused to surrender. Council ships opened fire with weapons that could crack planets. But the human fleet was ready for them. Dr. Kevin Park had spent months analyzing Council weapon systems from captured data. Human shields were specifically designed to deflect Council energy beams, while human weapons were built to penetrate Council defenses. Their targeting systems can't lock onto our ships, reported Captain Tony Blake from his fighter. Squadron. Our stealth technology is completely outside their experience. The Council fleet found itself fighting an enemy that seemed to appear and disappear at will. Human ships would emerge from hiding, strike hard, and vanish before the aliens could respond. It was like fighting ghosts. Commander Amy Collins led a squadron of torpedo boats that attacked the Council's command ships. The torpedoes used human innovation combined with stolen Council technology to create weapons that no alien species had ever seen before. Direct hit on their flagship, Amy reported as her weapons tore through alien shields. Their defensive screens are collapsing. But the real shock came when the human ships demonstrated capabilities that should have been impossible. Ships that moved faster than Council vessels. Weapons that fired through Council shields as if they weren't there. Defenses that made human ships nearly invulnerable to alien attack. Dr. Marcus June had designed the human battle plan based on months of studying Council military doctrine. The aliens fought predictable battles using tactics that hadn't changed in thousands of years. Human tactics were completely foreign to them. They're trying to form traditional battle lines, Marcus observed from his position aboard the research vessel Discovery. They don't understand that we're fighting a completely different kind of war. The Council fleet began to break apart as human ships struck from every direction. Admiral LateHFY tried to coordinate a response, but his communications were being jammed by human electronic warfare systems that operated on principles unknown to Council science. Captain Elena Foster commanded a group of electronic warfare ships that were systematically destroying Council coordination. Their command structure is collapsing, she reported. They can't adapt to our tactics fast enough. The battle raged for 18 hours. When it ended, the mighty Purge fleet was either destroyed or captured. Of the 12,000 ships that had come to exterminate humanity, fewer than 100 escaped to carry word back to the Council. Admiral Morrison stood in the ruins of Admiral LateHFY's flagship. The alien commander had been captured alive. Along with most of his senior staff, Morrison looked at the being who had come to destroy his species and felt no anger, only pity. Your Council made one critical error, Morrison said calmly. You underestimated not just our capability, but our determination. You thought you were hunting helpless prey, but you were actually walking into a trap set by the most dangerous predators. In the galaxy, LateHFY's energy form flickered weakly. This is impossible. Our intelligence indicated you were a primitive species confined to one system. Your intelligence was deliberately fed false information, Morrison replied. We've been inside your communication networks for months. We knew exactly when you were coming and exactly how you planned to attack us. The news of the Battle of Sol spread across the galaxy through human communication networks. In every system where Council forces existed, they suddenly found themselves facing human fleets that had been hidden among them for months. Dr. Sarah Rodriguez coordinated the galaxy-wide assault from her command ship in the Vega system. All units report successful engagement, she announced. Council forces are surrendering or retreating on all fronts. The war that the Council had expected to last a few days was over almost before it began. The species they had come to eliminate had instead eliminated them as a military force. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, the ancient Council chamber on Nexus Prime looked very different. The floating platforms that had once held the galaxy's most powerful beings now served as seats for their conquerors. President Robert Carter stood where the ethereal delegate had once pronounced humanity's death sentence. The irony was not lost on anyone present. The former Council members sat in restraints that kept them from using their advanced abilities. Admiral LateHFY's energy form was contained within a special field that prevented him from dispersing. The crystalline architects were held in stasis fields that stopped their rock-like bodies from moving. Each species that had voted for human extinction now faced the judgment of their intended victims. The age of Council dominance is over, President Carter announced to the assembled aliens. His words were translated into dozens of languages and broadcast across the galaxy. But we are not here for revenge. We are here to build something better. Dr. Emily Watson stood beside Carter with a datapad containing the new Galactic Charter. She had worked for months with human legal experts and reformed alien scholars to create a document that would govern the galaxy fairly. The old system of suppression and control would be replaced with something unprecedented in galactic history. No species shall be restricted in their natural development, Emily read from the charter. No advanced civilization shall interfere with the growth of younger species. All beings have the right to explore, expand, and evolve according to their nature. Fleet Admiral Rachel Morgan commanded the new Galactic Defense Force from her flagship. New Earth, the ship orbited Nexus Prime with weapons trained on the planet's surface. Around her, thousands of human and allied vessels maintained order throughout Council space. Status report from all sectors, Rachel requested from her tactical officer. All former Council worlds have surrendered, reported Captain David Chun. Resistance has been minimal. Most alien populations seem relieved that the old restrictions are being lifted. The truth was that the Council's iron rule had not just suppressed humanity. For 50,000 years, they had prevented countless species from reaching their full potential. Young civilizations had been kept primitive while advanced ones were forced to stagnate. The galaxy had become a prison where growth and change were forbidden. Dr. Marcus Chun worked in laboratories on Nexus Prime, studying the technology that the Council had hoarded for millennia. What he found amazed him. The aliens possessed incredible advances in medicine, energy production, and space travel, but they had kept these discoveries secret to maintain their power. They could have eliminated disease and poverty across the galaxy, Marcus explained to a group of human scientists. Instead, they kept their knowledge hidden so that other species would remain dependent on them. Captain Janet Price led exploration. Missions to worlds that had been declared off-limits by the Council for thousands of years. What her teams discovered proved that the aliens had been hiding more than just technology. Entire civilizations had been suppressed or destroyed because they showed signs of dangerous creativity. We found ruins on 12 different worlds, Janet reported. All of them show evidence of advanced technology that was suddenly abandoned. The Council didn't just contain species like us. They eliminated them. The most shocking discovery came when Dr. Kevin Park accessed the Council's historical archives. The records showed that humanity was not the first species to develop rapid adaptation and innovation. Over the past 50,000 years, at least 30 different civilizations had shown similar traits. They were all destroyed, Kevin reported with anger in his voice. Every single species that showed signs of uncontrolled growth was eliminated. We're the first ones who survived their containment efforts. President Carter used this information to justify the new order he was establishing. The Council had not been protecting galactic stability, they had been preventing galactic progress. Under their rule, the galaxy had become stagnant and dying. Colonel Linda Shaw coordinated the liberation of restricted worlds throughout Council space. Her forces found billions of beings who had been kept in artificial poverty and ignorance. When given access to advanced technology and education, these populations began to flourish immediately. It's incredible, Linda reported from the Vega system. These people were living in conditions that were thousands of years behind their potential. Within weeks of liberation, they're already making remarkable progress. Admiral Morrison established his headquarters in the former Council archives on Nexus Prime. The vast databases contained the complete history of galactic civilization. What he read there convinced him that humanity's victory was not just military but moral. The Council called us a chaos factor, Morrison said during a meeting with the new galactic leadership. They were right. We are chaos. But chaos is just another word for change, and this galaxy desperately needed change. The transition to the new order was not without challenges. Some alien species tried to resist human authority. Others attempted to set up their own small empires in the vacuum left by Council collapse. But humanity was ready for these problems. Captain Susan Moore led rapid response forces that dealt with rebellions and uprisings across the galaxy. Her ships could reach any trouble spot within days using the advanced travel technology that humans had captured from the Council. Most resistance collapses as soon as we arrive, Susan reported. The rebels expected to face the slow, predictable response of the old Council. They're not prepared for human speed and flexibility. Dr. Sarah Rodriguez supervised the construction of new shipyards where human and alien technologies were combined into designs that neither species could have created alone. The hybrid ships were faster, stronger, and more efficient than anything the galaxy had ever seen. We're not just replacing Council technology, Sarah explained. We're creating something entirely new. Something that combines the best of human innovation with alien knowledge. The former Council species were given a choice. They could join the new Galactic Federation as equal members, or they could remain isolated on their homeworlds. Most chose to join rather than face the alternative of being left behind as the galaxy moved forward without them. Dr. Amanda Rivers worked with alien scientists who had been freed from Council restrictions for the first time in their lives. The collaboration produced breakthroughs in every field of knowledge: medicine that could extend life for centuries, energy sources that could power entire star systems, technologies that made the impossible seem routine. They're like children who have been locked in a room for their entire lives, Amanda observed. Now that they're free to explore and create, they're making up for thousands of years of lost progress. Captain Elena Foster established new communication networks that connected every inhabited world in the galaxy. For the first time in galactic history, different species could share knowledge and ideas freely. The results were immediate and dramatic. Innovation is spreading like wildfire, Elena reported. Ideas that took the Council centuries to develop are being improved and refined in months. The entire galaxy is waking up from a long sleep. President Carter signed the final treaties that established the Galactic Federation during a ceremony broadcast to billions of beings across thousands of worlds. The document he signed officially ended 50,000 years of Council rule and began a new era of freedom and growth. We stand at the beginning of a new age, Carter declared. An age where every species can reach for the stars without fear of being held back by those who came before. Admiral Morrison watched the ceremony. From his office overlooking the spaceport where ships from dozens of species work together to build a better future, the view reminded him of something important. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through superior force alone. They had won because they offered something the Council never could: hope for a better tomorrow. The irony was perfect. The Council had tried to ban humanity because they feared human influence would change everything. They had been absolutely right. Human influence was changing everything. The difference was that change turned out to be exactly what the galaxy needed. As President Carter finished his speech and signed the final documents, he smiled at a truth that the old council had never understood. Sometimes the greatest threats carry within them the seeds of the greatest opportunities. The species that had seemed like a virus threatening galactic stability had instead become the cure for galactic stagnation. The galaxy would never be the same. And for the first time in 50,000 years, that was a wonderful thing. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the alien vessels circle around the human cargo ships like hungry sharks. The Zilithian patrol boats moved slowly around the convoy, their blue hulls gleaming in the starlight. This was the third time this month they had stopped human traders for what they called routine inspections. Jake had been a captain for 12 years, and he knew these inspections were anything but routine. The aliens would board the human ships, spend hours going through cargo manifests, question the crews about their destinations, and delay shipments for days at a time. Sometimes they would find violations of regulations that seemed to change every week. Sometimes they would confiscate entire shipments, claiming they posed security risks to the galaxy. The worst part was that humans had to let it happen. The Galactic Council had made the rules very clear 200 years ago when humanity first joined the galactic community. Any species that wanted to trade with other worlds had to follow Council laws. Any species that wanted to expand beyond their home system had to get Council approval. Any species that wanted to be part of galactic civilization had to prove they were peaceful and responsible. Humanity had been trying to prove that for 2 centuries now. Jake watched as another Zilithian boarding party transferred to the cargo ship New Hope. Captain Sarah Mills commanded that vessel, and Jake knew she would cooperate fully with the inspection just like every other human captain did. They had no choice. Fighting back meant losing their trading licenses, their colony permits, and their place in the galaxy. Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa Parker sat in her office reading the daily reports from across human space. Every day brought new restrictions, new regulations, new ways the Council species found to limit human activities. The Core-3 had just passed a new law requiring human ships to request permission before entering any system where Core-3 citizens lived. Since the Core-3 had spread across half the galaxy, that meant humans needed permission to go almost anywhere. The crystalline Vorthak had declared that human emotional responses made them unpredictable and dangerous. They had convinced the Council to require psychological evaluations for any human who wanted to work in certain sectors. Dr. Amanda Foster, one of the best engineers in human space, had been banned from working on space stations because of Vorthak. Evaluator decided she was too passionate about her job. Admiral Parker had spent her entire career watching humanity bend over backwards to accommodate alien fears and prejudices. Every time humans complained, the Council would promise to look into the matter. Every time humans asked for equal treatment, the aliens would point to some ancient incident and claim humans were still too dangerous to trust fully. The irony was not lost on her. Humanity had fought terrible wars before joining the galactic community. They had nearly destroyed their own planet with nuclear weapons. They had shown a capacity for violence that scared other species. But for 200 years, humans had proven they could be peaceful, cooperative, and responsible members of galactic society. It did not seem to matter. On the colony world New Columbia, Farmer Ben Taylor walked through his fields with his daughter, Kate. They had spent 3 generations building this farm on the edge of human space. The soil here was perfect for earth crops, and the climate was mild year-round. It should have been paradise. Instead, Ben watched Zilithian inspectors destroy half his wheat crop because they claimed it violated some new agricultural regulation. The regulation had been passed last week without any human input. Ben had not even heard of it until the inspectors arrived this morning. Kate was 22 years old and had never known any world but New Columbia. She had grown up watching alien inspectors come and go, always finding new reasons to interfere with human activities. Her generation was tired of bowing and scraping to species that seemed determined to keep humanity in its place. "Why do we let them do this to us?" she asked her father as they watched the aliens burn another section of crops. Ben sighed. He had asked himself the same question 1,000 times. "Because the alternative is worse," he said. "If we fight back, they kick U.S. out of the Council. No more trade, no more colonies, no more access to galactic civilization. We go back to being stuck in our own solar system." Kate watched the smoke rise from their burning fields. "Maybe that would not be so bad," she said quietly. Her father put his hand on her shoulder. "Your grandparents lived through the isolation years," he said. "Trust me, it was bad." On Luna Station, Dr. Kevin Wright prepared for another session with the Galactic Council. He had been Earth's chief representative for 15 years and had attended over 3,000 council meetings. He had filed formal complaints, requested hearings, and followed every diplomatic protocol the aliens had established. The results spoke for themselves. Human space was smaller now than it had been 50 years ago. Human trade was more restricted. Human colonies operated under more regulations. Every year brought new limitations disguised as safety measures or security protocols. Dr. Wright was a patient man. He believed in diplomacy, in working within the system, in proving that humans could be trusted partners in galactic civilization. But even his patience had limits. Today's council session would address the latest Zilithium proposal to limit human population growth on frontier worlds. The aliens claimed that too many humans in remote areas posed a security risk. They wanted to cap colony populations at 10,000 people and require council approval for any births beyond that number. The proposal was insane. It would effectively end human expansion and condemn existing colonies to slow decline. But Dr. Wright knew it would probably pass. The council had 600 species and humans were just one voice among many. The older, more established species had learned to work together when it came to keeping newer species like humanity under control. Dr. Wright had spent 15 years learning to smile and nod while aliens treated his species like dangerous children. He had perfected the art of diplomatic language, of turning insults into opportunities for dialogue, of finding compromise in situations where none existed, but lately he found himself thinking about what his daughter had said during their last conversation. Amy Wright was a teacher on Mars, and she had asked him a simple question: "Dad, when does patience become cowardice?" He had not been able to answer her. Across human space, similar scenes played out every day. Human merchants waited hours for permission to dock at alien stations while other species came and went freely. Human scientists had their research restricted because aliens found their methods too aggressive. Human families watched their children grow up believing that being human meant being second-class citizens in their own galaxy. The galaxy had peace, but it was a peace built on human submission. The other species had forgotten that humans had chosen to be peaceful. They had started to believe that humans were naturally subservient, naturally weak, naturally willing to accept whatever treatment they received. They had forgotten that patience was not the same thing as acceptance. They had forgotten that choosing not to fight was different from being unable to fight. Most importantly, they had forgotten that even the most patient people have breaking points. The aliens were about to learn these lessons the hard way.